Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to blank game week 29. Not a complete blank, there are 4 fixtures taking place, but it's a blank for those other teams. My name is Joe and today we'll be looking to see who is due a goal or assist using Fantasy Football Scout's trusty goals and assists imminent tables. As usual, I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout's Deputy Editor Tom Freeman. Welcome Tom, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks, Joe. Yeah, it's been real roller coaster game week 28 so far, hasn't it? With Bournemouth and Luton underwhelming at the weekend, but then since then, I think you own Son and Palmer, don't you, Joe?
Yes, so I'm okay.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
But
so
they've been the key
you own
players.
Ben White as well.
Yeah, it's been really good for me. Yeah, I think just it's been an odd game week, hasn't it? If you've just got two or three who have delivered, then you're doing absolutely fine. And now we're obviously approaching 29, a lot of free hits in play. So yes, should be a good show.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been quite disappointing for many assets. Obviously, got nothing for Solanke, who's common captain at the moment. But I did KDB to Son and Van Dijk to Zibanier. So I've still got a player to go, and I'm very much up on that deal and partly up. So I've got a healthy 10k green arrow currently, but I suspect it will go down because I've got 3 double game week players for Wednesday, which will be I've seen others with 4, maybe even 5.
It depends how it plays out. 3's a decent amount if one of them's your captain, I think. But maybe, I mean, I've only got 1 Bournemouth defender like you, and a lot of rivals have got 2. So you're in that odd position where you kind of want a clean sheet, but you're not. You know, it could hurt you in certain areas. So let's see what happens on Wednesday anyway. So.
Okay, and welcome to those joining us early in the live chat. Matthew Sakan, FPL Gatey, who I saw in real life on Saturday. He was at the FPL Meets Yeovil meetup where we watched a match on telly, watched a real life game, Welling United against Yeovil, and then back to the pub for real life TV and watching Arsenal there. So welcome FPL Gatey, Big Phil, Matthew, Sakan, David, Scott and Rodrev. They're early on in the live chat. If just one of you can let us know that you can see and hear us fine, that would be great, and so that we know we're not just talking to each other. Also, do press that like button, it really helps out. Do also subscribe so you can keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts wherever you listen to them, and also have a check out fantasyfootballscout.co.uk so you can keep up to date with all our latest membership offers as well. Scott Ashton's given a big thumbs up, so it sounds like people can see and hear us fine. It's a blank game week, so there is a lot of games off this weekend because of FA Cup commitments, but what is on is Nottingham Forest against Luton, Fulham against Tottenham, Brentford against Burnley, Aston Villa, West Ham. I'm reading this from a season ticker, so apologies if it sounds a bit inconvenient. I'm just going to redo that and basically just say 8 teams are playing. Luton, Tottenham, Burnley, Brentford, Fulham, Aston Villa, West Ham and Nottingham Forest. That is all is playing at the moment. So we're going to go very limited goals and assists imminent tables. But we will check on how we did in the previous week. So we'll get straight stuck into that. So these are last week's tables. This is how we did. On the goals imminent table, basically Manchester United helped us out. And on the assist imminent table, Son helped us out. But we also got a couple of surprise assists on there as well. So we can get some smug points for them. We'll go with goals imminent first. Still a match to go for Solanke. Bournemouth against Luton. But he blanked spectacularly for us, missed a penalty, and had a goal, and then it was disallowed by VAR. That pleases me in a weird way that he won a penalty, that also, even though he slipped, and that he also actually got a goal on target, but it was a VAR, because the previous game with Burnley, I think he just had 1 shot on target. It was thinking, is he injured? So would you say Solanke owners should feel okay with his performance? He's not too injured.
Yeah, I think so. He played 90 minutes, didn't he? Which was really encouraging. So I don't think there's a concern with the fitness there. Iraola's about to have his presser now. I think it has just started actually for tomorrow, but I'm hopeful that there won't be any lasting issues there. Just unlucky, slipped for the penalty, which has been a bit of an issue for Bournemouth a couple of times this year, and they've been looking at the pitch and seeing how they're watering it and seeing if there's a problem there. Had the goal ruled out for handball as well, so it's just one of those. It was so close to a haul, but just couldn't quite get there. But we've still got a very good fixture at home against Luton to come. So let's pause on that, see what happens on Wednesday. But I feel fairly confident that we'll get a return out of that at home to Luton.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I don't care because he's 185% owned. So I own him as a captain. He's 200% owned. So I only get 15% of whatever points he gets. So it's pretty negligible. So I don't care whether he blanks or not, to be honest. The ones I'm more interested in is a surprise haul from Sabanier and an attacking return from Alfie Doughty. That will please me much more because I get much more percentage of those points there. Next name on this is Alanga. His manager let us down. He was benched. That was annoying in Gameweek 28. So he didn't get much of a chance. So he did blank. He's in my free hit team at the moment. I'm not sure whether I'm going to play him or not. But I really do like the fact that he's got Luton up next. Bad timing, though, getting benched, seeing as he's pretty much most involved in all of their goals so far this season.
Yeah, he's looked really good leading into Sunday or heading into Sunday, hadn't he? I think he'd had 7 big chances in the 4 matches leading up to that, and then he was on the bench along with Hudson-Odoi. So we had a look at Nuno's presser after the match on Sunday. And he said he dropped the wide men to the bench basically because Brighton are so strong through the middle. He wanted another body in there. He wanted to try and gain a bit more control because of the way that Brighton attack. Now that makes you think that it was a specific tactic for that match. Still going to be a little bit of doubt until we see the team sheets, but I think he came on and made an impact in the second half. His pace was really important, and I think against Luton, who attack in a completely different way to Brighton, wing backs, they get the ball out wide a lot. I think he'll be really important in getting behind their wing backs. So if I had to guess, I would say he'll start at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Brighton have had tricky games against Nottingham Forest of late. And for them to get a result out of this one is good for Brighton. Alanga, luckily for Brighton, wasn't playing. So that tactic didn't clearly work. So Alanga came on, they were better. So
he did. He did say expect to see more of the kind of the changing tactics throughout the games, which is a bit of a word of warning. But I just think for this one, I think Alanga makes sense against Luton. But it would be great if Nuno would come out in a presser and say Alanga will be back in the team, and then he becomes a serious option for free hits, I think.
Okay, Ramsey at Aston Villa. He was injured, so he didn't make this. So you're a Villa fan. How injured is he? Do we know? Is it serious? Because he was due a goal. Injury curtailed that, so he looks a possible good option then if he's going to play in 29.
We've got an Emery presser tomorrow ahead of Ajax, so we'll know a bit more. He wasn't completely ruled out against Spurs, but obviously wasn't ready to feature in the end. The problem is that the whole system rejigged, and we went with a 3-5-2 against Spurs, which really didn't work. So you would like Ramsey to be back for this West Ham game. Let's just see what happens at Ajax if he starts that one. We might have a little bit more confidence, although again, this links to players like Leon Bailey as well, is that if they're given a tough match against Ajax, it's a draw currently. If that one goes to extra time or something like that, Bailey becomes a very risky option on a free hit then if he's played 100-something minutes on Thursday.
Yeah, so for example, if Bailey starts and subbed off at 70th minute, then that's good. Then we can go for Bailey. Similarly with Ramsey, if he's fit and playing and maybe gets 20 minutes on, you would think, he might get a start against West Ham, but it is a little up in the air. Garnacho's not playing next, but he did reward those owners that played him. I say that's not including me because he's first on my bench.
Wow.
So with 2 assists, expertly won. As well by him, and that's what defenders have to do. You've either got to take him out or just watch him, or be very good at defending. So he's one to monitor for Game Week 30 onwards, especially if they have a double Game Week 34, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. Yeah, I think there's no need to look at him in the next couple of weeks. What United have Brentford, Chelsea, Liverpool when they come back into action. But if they double in 34, Garnacho and maybe one other attacker, you might be willing to take a punt on that. Given that I think both of the double the games in that double would be at home as well, which is a bit more appealing. And Garnacho's just that price, great value, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I've had some points off him, but he has been on my bench a lot as well. But yeah, what a perfect first sub, arguably perfect fourth or fifth midfielder. Very, very underpriced. Kudos is next, West Ham. Another blank amongst our list here, but a bit like some of the Villa assets, West Ham are playing in Europe. We're going to want to look at his minutes once again. If I see him coming off of the 70th minute, I'm tempted to get him in as well. He is another candidate for a free hit or just a transfer in Game Week 29. But Kudos is still good. I don't think he's gone off the boil at all. He's on this table.
Yeah, I really like him, Joe. I've liked him all, since he's kind of got into the first team. I think he's been really effective for West Ham. They weren't great in the first half against Burnley at the weekend, but they switched things round. Bowen went back onto the right wing. Kudus went onto the left wing in the second half on Sunday. Antonio up top was holding the ball up well, and they looked a completely different team. Kudus came really close to an assist. In fact, I think he was actually given it on the official website, and then it was taken away because it was quite a heavy deflection, which I don't think the cameras picked up. But Optum were convinced that the intended target wasn't Danny Ings, so it was taken away. But I think he's a really interesting option on a free hit because. We'll talk about it more on our team reveal video, but three midfield positions feel pretty locked in, I think, at the moment. Yeah. And so it's that fourth midfield or fifth, depending on formation that you're going to play. Because I don't think it's a certainty that it's a 3-4-3 because I don't think everybody will go in with Morris. So there might be an opportunity to get a couple more midfielders in. And I think if you are going to do that, Kudus has got to be the one you're looking at. But again, like you say, Thursday, if that match goes to extra time penalties, I would have thought Kudus is still going to play, but it's just going to put that element of doubt in your mind. Because what you don't want in a free hit is your player coming on for 20 minutes or 15, 20 minutes at the end. You want to nail those starters.
And Bomo's next on the list. He obviously didn't play, still injured, but he is back in training. And so we've started to put him on this list because he might make an appearance soon. It's looking like it's Game Week 30, though. So he's not going to play Game Week 29, but we could be seeing him Game Week 30. So because these are last four matches that they played, not last 4 game weeks. So whilst those sorts of players like Mbomo are near a return, we'll start adding them to the list instead of removing them, which I have been doing. Next up is Fernandes, though. A bit like Garnacho, they've got that potential double in Game Week 34. A player to consider. Yeah, as a time reminder, he's on penalties. He looked pretty attacking. He looked good. I think it's Garnacho is the one I'd really want, but Fernandes on penalties in a double game week, he's definitely one to monitor, isn't he?
Yeah, providing he doesn't continue sharing them with Rashford, which is what, I mean, they took one each, didn't they? So if you're a Fernandes owner, you were probably thinking we're on for a big haul here. And then Rashford takes the next one. It's a bit like the Saka-Odegaard situation earlier in the season, isn't it? But I think Fernandes in a double game week, I'd be happy to punt on him, knowing that he's only just over 8 million now. And so, I think that again, like Garnacho, 33, 34, that's when you might start looking at United players.
Tavernier, Bournemouth, whole bunch of midfielders and wingers at Bournemouth we could have opted for. Obviously, it was none of them really impressed. You've got Kluivert as well in the mix, Tavernier. So he blanks in 29 anyway, so people aren't going to go for Bournemouth. They do have good fixtures from Game Week 30 onwards. Bournemouth have Everton, Crystal Palace both at home, then Luton in Game Week 32, and then Game Week 33 they've got Manchester United at home. So they've got a good bunch of fixtures there. But has Tavernier done anything so far to... No.
No, I mean, it was a punt going into the double game week because he hadn't been good. He hasn't been playing well recently. And I think we at least tried to outline that in all of our pre-reviews, saying this is a punt worth taking. I still think that given the price, but he hasn't been playing well. Now, the problem for him is at the weekend is he came off after 62 minutes and Sinistera came on and played very well. He looked dangerous. And the whole of that left side changed because Kakez came off as well, didn't he, for
Yeah.
Uatara, who was involved in the goals.
Mhm.
I think the concern now, if you own him for Wednesday, is that given the impact of those two players, it wouldn't surprise me if he was benched on Wednesday. Let's see. There's nothing you can do about it now, of course, and he could get something off the bench anyway. But I don't think I'd be the only reason you'd be looking at a Bournemouth midfielder is because of the double. Now that's passed.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Solanke will continue to tick along, I think, but none of the midfielders are worth
Also,
it.
Kirk's owners, not only could he lose his place in that there's a better player coming in for him, there's rumours that the Bournemouth hierarchy aren't too happy with him. He shared a picture of him with Sterling. There's talk of potential transfer to Chelsea at some point. And I think he posted on his social media a picture of him, I don't know, hugging or kissing Raheem Sterling or something like that. So, yeah, I don't think that may not have gone down too well there. So something a situation to keep an eye on. Odegaard at Burnley is next. Burnley are I don't know what's happening with Burnley and Sheffield United as well. You know, we thought they were just going to lie down and drift off to the Championship, but they appear to be sort of going down with a bit of a fight. It's got a pride at play, I guess, because they are down and out. But are you getting the sense of that with Burnley at the weekend?
Yeah, I think they did all right at West Ham, and they did really well against Bournemouth. I thought that they were the better team in that match. They're still leaky. They're still so vulnerable at the back that I'm not worried about punting on even Tony or anything like that. But it does make me kind of. I mean, we're seeing in a lot of free hit teams this Brentford double up at the back with Flecken and then maybe Reguilon or Roeslev, and it kind of makes sense because they're the favourites for a clean sheet this week. But it would not surprise me at all if Burnley scored, given what we've seen over the past couple of weeks. But rather than Odegaard, he's been playing a bit more central, but he wasn't very good at the weekend. I think it's Fofana that you probably want to be looking at if you do want somebody there because he was great. But yeah, they're definitely showing signs of life, aren't they? Maybe when the pressure's off a little bit more now and nobody's really expecting much from them, they can start to play their game a bit more.
Final name's Martinelli. He was not playing. I don't think he's in the Brazil squad either. So it sounds like the gash on his leg is quite serious, or rather more serious than we thought.
Yeah, and I think Edison pulled out as well, didn't he, of the same Brazil squad? Yeah. So there's a couple of concerns there if you're owners of them.
A reminder to people that after we've had a look at how we did on the Imminent table and also the latest tables, me and Tom will be answering some of your questions. So do have a think about some questions, and a bit later towards the end of the video, do post your questions up in the live chat, and we'll get to those. Assists imminent. Foden and Bernardo Silva let us down there. I mean, that was always going to be a tough ask against Liverpool. That was there's going to be goals in that, but hard to see where they're going to come from. And so I'm probably going to remove Foden in game week 30 very nervously, but it will be for Salah, who I'll probably captain. So I think
a lot of people will make that move, I think.
Yeah. So we'll sketch over them. We can get some snug points here. Two players that no one will get in, but they might do when they get a double game week. Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea got an assist, and Bruno Guimaraes at Newcastle got an assist as well. So I guess, Gordon's gone off injured, but he always plays. Eddie Howe. I have this with Neil in the team news. He looks at the press conferences. If Eddie Howe says anything, even including Anthony Gordon, I've got some sad news. Anthony Gordon's passed away. He will still play. It'll be like weekend at Bernie's. He will just drag his corpse across the pitch. And that's just the way it is with Eddie Howe there. So I fully expect him to play. So Gordon and Isak are going to be the main draws. But there could be a Newcastle attacking spot for grabs. Bruno Guimaraes, maybe. He did have some pretty good hauls a couple of seasons ago, but he's a bit more too defensive now.
Yeah, he's a quality player. I think he's great. I just think for FPL, it's probably, if Gordon is out, Harvey Barnes missed out last night, but apparently he's going to be back for the next match. I don't think they were too concerned about it. So it would be, but anyway, he'd be a risk anyway, given his injuries this year. So it probably would be Isak, who took his goals so well last night. And I think that people might be a bit more willing to have an attacking shuffle when we get back after the break with potentially losing Watkins.
Yeah.
Maybe some people will be okay with that given the lack of doubles and things like that. And Isak, if he gets that double in 34, I think he'll be the prime target for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, game week 31, I'm sort of eyeing up Watkins to Isak as I look to use transfers to get into game week 34. Me and Tom will have a team news video out later tonight, about 7 o'clock, which will explain a bit more about our strategies and things, what we're doing, particularly with big focus on blank game week 29 players, obviously. But we'll have a look ahead a little bit what we're doing. But the fixtures there, Aston Villa away to Man City, so that's tough. Then they do have Brentford at home, but then Arsenal away. So it's a tough run. Watkins is definitely ditchable for someone like Isak, especially if Isak's got a double game week on the horizon. So that's certainly something I've got penciled in.
Yes.
There.
Yeah, I've got a move penciled in as well, which is Watkins out in 31. And I'm pretty sure I'll go through that. And I think if we progress in Europe, we are still the favourites too. I think that further cements that kind of move.
Yeah.
I think it's dangerous. He's been absolutely incredible this year. But I think at this stage of the season, you want to be looking for those, players with an extra fixture. And we're not talking about bad players either. We're talking about Isak from Newcastle. Isak's been very consistent when he's played this year. So if he's fit, I think he's a really nice option.
Definitely. I just there was a question in the live chat, actually. I'm just going to bring this forward now rather than at the end, just because it's quite an interesting point. It was Matt was asking what happens if you're free hitting. What happens to your free hit side? So I'm free hitting at the moment. I press the button. I've got a team full of West Ham and Villa players. What happens to my other team? And it's particularly in terms of price rises and changes. And Alan is in the live chat has answered Matt there. So I'll just sort of read it out because I think a lot of people will ask this question. I know I ask it sometimes of myself as well.
Yeah.
It says, Alan was saying your free hit squad will return to you with any price changes, whether they go up or down. So you're not going to get the old prices back. You'll get whatever they've changed to during the week that you might have accrued whilst your free hit chip was active. It's as if you had never sold them. And I hope that helps. Matthew says, yes, it does. So yeah, I that's probably the best way of explaining it, really. Don't worry about your free hitting if prices go up and down. So for example, I think Son's gone up. So if Son's already in your team, you're not going to lose out on his price changes if for some bizarre reason you removed him, for example.
Yeah, and we get a lot of questions as well about transfers. If you make a transfer and then activate the free hit, do you get that transfer? No, you don't. It reverts to your team at the deadline and the last one.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think sometimes you play a free hit and then you get your old team back and you don't want that old team back because it's the new shiny one looks better. But I think in this case, we're free hitting in a lot of players that we probably don't want long term. So getting your Palmers and your Sakas back and play it like that's one of the reasons to play it. I mean, it's very team dependent, the free hit this week. I think if you can get to 8-9 players and get all the key ones in, it's probably not necessary. But for others like you, Joe, and me as well, he's probably only got 4 or 5 players. It makes a lot of sense to play it, even though it isn't. It maybe hasn't got the upside of a double game week. It can still do well, I think. So.
Definitely. So a few more names here. We'll just sort of skirt over some of them. Ericsson and Manchester United are very much an also-ran. Garnacho, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford even, Højlund when he's back. These are the players that you should be going for. Not Ericsson, it's just a minutes thing. Tavernier we've mentioned as well. Interestingly, on the goals and assists imminent table, but whether he starts or not midweek or indeed in game week 30 is another matter. Next name is interesting. Pereira at Fulham. He's often on the goals and assists imminent tables. Can get some attacking returns. Was particularly potent last year. But there is a lot of choice. Willian could come back. Iwobi. I mean, if you were to get a Fulham player, who would you get for the blank game week, and would it be Pereira?
I'm not sure if there's one standout name. I think you'd probably say Muniz, the striker, who's been playing really well recently. But Armando Broja is there and could eat into his minutes a little bit. And the midfielders as well. I think normally, if everybody was going to be playing the same amount of minutes, I'd pick Willian because of his, shares some set pieces. He's got penalties. I think he's the best player there.
Yeah.
And I do think he will come back in because I don't think that Pereira was great at the weekend. And there was talk of maybe Willian coming either in for Harry Wilson or Pereira against Spurs. I think Iwobi's a bit safer. Been playing a little bit deeper in this deeper role, but has still got a bit of threat.
Yeah.
So it's a very hard. I don't really know how to answer that. I don't really think I can say one player is without any kind of cons associated to it. Probably Muniz. But I'd rather punt on Willian, but I'd want some insurances that he's going to start, I think.
Yeah, I would as well. Willian on penalties as well. He was a player weeks ago I earmarked if I free hit now, I would get Willian in, but I don't know about whether he'll start or not. But I do think he's exactly the kind of player that's going to get a double-digit return, very low owned.
Just going to say Spurs, they kept a rare clean sheet against us at the weekend, but they probably will concede a few chances to Fulham. Yep. So I don't dislike that if we know he starts.
Yeah, Fulham good at home as well. Eze's next, Crystal Palace. He didn't score. I don't think he scored anyway. I wasn't really following the Crystal Palace game.
He came close. He came close. He hit the bar with a very good shot, but didn't get a return.
Once again, if Palace get a double game week in 34, Eze will be very, very popular. I've certainly, because I'm going to use transfers to get to 34, and Eze is one of them. Isak's one of them. And probably a defender from Newcastle. I already have Anderson, a Crystal Palace defender.
Okay.
Eze, definitely.
Yeah.
Watch the space. Get him in.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll become a factor between now and the end of the season, I'm sure. But you probably are going to want to move in 34. They played City and Liverpool leading up to that, so that might just be a last-minute transfer.
Yeah, definitely. I'll probably arrange it so I've hopefully got 2 free transfers in 34.
Yeah.
And I don't mind taking a hit, so I'll just about to get 3 new double game week players in. Next name is Stupinan at Brighton. So currently sort of part of the B team, which lost the previous week. Then the A team played in Roma, and then Estupinan's back again in the squad, but then they did well against Nottingham Forest. So that could mean that Estupinan is starting to learn the magical ways of De Zerbi and could be in, or it could be just he is a B teamer and the A team will be back again next. But it's a bit of a dead rubber the next game. I'm not sure what De Zerbi's going to do with that. He might, because it could be the final European, well, it's certainly this season it's going to be the final European game. We're 4-0 down. But it could be Brighton might not get Europe again next season.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to want to get the best side out at home. I think Brighton are going to want to go out in style in that. And Roma can afford to ship a couple of goals. So that could mean that Estupinan plays again in game week 30.
He spoke about it in his presser. He kind of said that the reason why he hasn't been playing so much, he said it's down to injuries, it's down to fitness. He said that Estupinan needs to be playing every game to be at his top level. He's one of those players which just consistently, he said that you can't bring him in and out of the team kind of thing. He needs to be playing it week in, week out. And he doesn't feel like he's been able to do that with his fitness. Now, whether or not Europe in a way will probably help you a bit, Joe, won't it? With a stretch squad. And if you're going back down to that, because you play City in the FA Cup, don't you, I think? Is that right?
Yeah. So we're going to have to see.
You're probably going to be out of the Cups.
Yeah. I mean, you would imagine so against City. And I mean, we often give City a good game. There's a lot of respect between the two managers, but I do. Obviously, I do think they're going to lose that.
So that might actually help if you're going back then to a slightly reduced schedule and Estupinan can start building up again.
Yeah.
It might regain that place because he's your best left back when he's at his top level, isn't he, Joe?
Totally, yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. So Lamptey was probably the only player that really impressed against Roma. So I think Lamptey's pretty much A team, but can't play every game midweek. But if the cups are going, then we could. It's basically Lamptey and a Estupinan, you would hope, but it could be
Veltman's there as well, isn't he? And,
there's a lot of choice there, and it's Lamptey, not Estupinan, who's definitely the favoured one. Okay, Son, last name on the list. Delivered with the assists, 2 assists, and he scored. I'm very pleased I got him in. And if I wasn't free hitting this week, I'd be pleased anyway because he's playing Gameweek 29. So he's the player to have at the moment, isn't he? And 17 points proves it.
Unfortunately, yeah, it was quite a tough watch on Sunday, but they just look with like they're getting key players back now, aren't they? With Sarr, who I thought was really good for that first goal, and Basuma, Kulusevski, Maddison's back, Johnson looks good. They're starting to look a bit like that Spurs at the start of the season, I think, where they look a real threat going forward. So yeah, they got that great game in 32 at home against Luton. So I think Son will be probably the most popular captain this week, although it's not, everybody won't go there because there are options, but I think he'll probably be the most popular. And I think he'll be very popular in 32 for people, if you can't get to Salah, he's the next best in that list, given that Man City are playing Arsenal. So
yeah, sorry, you mean game week 30 or?
What did I say?
32. But I was going to say.
Oh, I said 32. Yeah,
but it's completely valid comment anyway because in game week 32, Tottenham are home to Nottingham Forest. So
I meant 30.
Yeah, no.
But 30 definitely the behind Salah, and even maybe some people might want to punt on Son ahead of Salah in that game week. If he's playing up front, he's a different kind of FPL animal. Son, he's such a good asset.
Yeah.
So he's the man to have at the moment. Absolutely.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on to see who's on the latest tables before we take some questions from the community. Here we go. Now, I do warn you, these are tiny. Because I've cut out every player that's not playing because it's pointless recommending player in 29 who's not playing. It's just 3 names on the goals imminent table. Elanga, we've mentioned. He's currently in my free hit team, but on the bench because I'm not sure he's going to start. But if we can get some assurance he'll start, he's the player to get. We've had him in the talisman tables before. He is most involved in their goals. He's got speed and accuracy as well. He's had 3 shots on target, 7 shots, all of those at close range in his last 4 matches. He's had 5 big chances, missed them all. And his expected goal non-penalty, he should have got about 2. So he has been very, very underperforming there. So that suggests goals are imminent. I'm tempted just to play him. I don't know. What do you think?
I like a Forest attacker for that game, and I think that he probably will start. So I think he's really good. The only other one I'd consider is Gibbs White, who's obviously on penalties, who's got set pieces, and I like him a lot too. And he's a bit more of assured of that place in the team. But Elanga was the one who looked the most threatening in the games leading up to Sunday. He actually played as the centre forward against Liverpool, I think, the week before. But now you've got like Wood or Awanihi, whoever plays in that central striker role, Elanga's going to be playing off them. And I think that, he's a decent option still, I think. And you're going in with a bit of risk, but you might be willing to take that if we get something positive out of that Nuno presser on Friday.
Yeah, so as you said, there's all one midfield slot up for grabs, whether you're free hitting or not. Son, Maddison and Bowen will be popular on free hits. They will probably be popular transfers in if people don't have them already. That leaves a space. Alanga's definitely there. And all of these players are. Ramsey, if he's back for Villa, we've spoken about him. He's had 11 shots, which is a hell of a lot. 7 of those inside the box. Just 1 on target. But we have spoken about him. He could be an option there, but monitor if he's back from injury at any minutes. But the next name, Kudos, is still there, still on the list. He is another player I'm thinking of for that 4th midfield spot. 15 shots, 7 inside the box, 2 shots on target. His expected goal non-penalty is 1, so marginally overperforming there. He's had a couple of chances, missed them both. It's a tough call, but he's definitely in the running for that, for getting in our teams for 29, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. And we've looked, Villa should have looked, we haven't looked great at the back recently. Switched the system on Sunday. Konsa's back now, but looked really poor, I thought, against Spurs with his distribution. We've got McGinn, who's suspended for 3 Premier League matches now. So you've not only lost Kamara, but you've lost McGinn. So we'll probably go in on Sunday either with Tillemans in central midfield, or we'll get the youngster in Ogbonam. Okay. So there's a few issues at Villa, and it makes me think that teams will score against us. I think Kudus, he's a player probably that is the front runner for that 4th spot in midfield for me at the moment. Anyway, so
okay. In the live chat, Historia Films said good afternoon. He's looking for the best differential for a non-free hit team. Is this the right place to be? Oh yes, it is. Feast your eyes on this table. Alanga 2.2% ownership. So 98% of managers do not have him. Ramsey, if he's fit, he's only in 0.1% of teams, and Kudos only in 4.3% of teams. Massive differentials. On live FPL, they'll have a little dice next to them. Okay, let's have a look at Assist Imminent for more differentials. Hopefully I remembered to put the ownership. I have put the ownership stats in. So a few more here. I noticed that Colm, who's our resident Fulham expert, was in the chat, and he was saying Iwobi is the one for him. Amongst Fulham assets, and Iwobi is top here of Assists Imminent. His ownership, so Story of Films will like this, 0.7%, very low owned. Cost is irrelevant, by the way. I've done a free hit team. I've got 13 million in the bank, and I've got all the best players that I want to get. So the expensive ones. So he's created 14 chances in his last 4 matches. Oh my God, some absolute, I was about to say a swear word, hide user on this channel, some idiot has just come into the live chat who is now gone. So he's gone. Oh dear, how sad. As FPL Bateman points out, we have a troll. We had a troll in past tense. I've now eradicated
him.
Gone. He's gone. So Iwobi 0.7% ownership there. He's had 14 chances created in his last 4 matches, no assists, but he has scored a couple of goals, and he's had a couple of successful crosses, and he should have got an assist over that time as well. And Pereira's next. We've mentioned him already. He's 0.9% ownership, 10 chances created. He's on corners, 15 corners he's taken the last 4 matches, 9 successful crosses. That's great. Everyone in the live chat, everything that weirdo, that troll came in, obviously they're not true. So there's no need to keep repeating what that idiot said.
I'll ask you off air, Joe. I presume it's not repeatable.
It's certainly not repeatable. Gibbs White it's the next name on the list. Thank God it's not Chris Wood. Gibbs White is on this list. Cost 5.7. You've already mentioned him. He's on penalties. 1.9% ownership. He's had 13 corners. He has scored. He's had 4 successful crosses. So just out of this lot here, once again we've got lots of options for this 4th midfield. Which of these would you like? I mean, I'm sort of veering towards Iwobi for some reason.
I think Iwobi is probably second on that list for me. I would put Gibbs White at top because, one, I think the fixture's better, and away at Luton, I can see Forest scoring there, and he's on penalties as well, so I'd probably put him a little bit ahead. But Iwobi is somebody I'm going to probably go away and have a little look at in a little bit more depth. I think Spurs, the way they played at the weekend, makes me a bit less positive about Fulham's chances in that one, because I thought they played really well against us, and when Porro's inverting and Udogie, there wasn't a great deal of space for those attacking midfielders in our team. But I'll have a look at it. But I think Gibbs White is certainly somebody that I'd consider.
Definitely. Okay, so very tiny goals and assists imminent tables this week, but there's a lot of good differentials there. You can stock up on them in a lot of them in midfield. But there are in our team reveal video, we'll talk a little bit more about some other options who are fully on the radar because they've already scored, and so I mean they will include names like, for example, Muniz at Fulham. He's got a fair few goals, got 5 goals in his last 6 matches. It will also have players like Fofana. He's got 3 goals in his last 6 matches. at Burnley, so he could be a good option. So do look at our team reveal video for more of those sort of players that are firmly on the radar because they've already scored, but they will be low owned and people might not go for them. Okay. Rightio. Let's have some questions in the live chat, please. And please keep them clean. So yeah, ask me and Tom anything you like, as long as they're clean and they're about fantasy football. Away you go. So I'll just put this screen up here and we can have a look here. Pride asks, what are your thoughts on Kulusevski versus Kudos? Yeah, Tom, what do you think? Kulusevski, I mean, this is an option here, isn't it? Going for a triple Spurs, get Son, Maddison, and Kulusevski. Oh, Jesus Christ.
They're back.
We'll have to get another mod on this. Okay, yeah.
Kulusevski's a player that I like as a differential. I think he's shown in certain games this year what he's capable of. Another player I thought looked great at the weekend was Brennan Johnson.
Yeah.
Now, I think that his place in the team, because Werner operates in that same kind of spot. Again, he's not completely nailed, but I think after that performance at the weekend, you would feel harsh to drop Brennan Johnson. And I think he's got 8 attacking returns in his last 10 games, I think, Brennan Johnson. So he might not be getting all the minutes, but he's finding a way to impact games. I think I would probably take a punt on Johnson over Kulusevski, but I do quite like the idea of potentially going with a Spurs attacker. The problem is that there's not loads of great defenders this week. We're really kind of rooting around for defenders. And that's why Porro or Udogie feels quite important. If you can find 3 good defenders, which you're happy with, I don't mind putting a third Spurs attacker in there because they're probably the most potent team that are playing this weekend on current form. So
okay. Evan asks, are we short-sighted by injury time goal and assist for Son versus 10-man Villa as captain? Okay. Well, firstly, Son's really good. He's an absolute elite FPL player for us. This is what he's been doing for years. So it's not short-sighted, it's long-term. He does this year on year. But the question really is, has he done enough to captain him when there are other candidates to captain? So is Son the best captain?
Yeah, I don't think he was great against Villa up until like the second half. And then once McGinn got sent off, a bit more space starting to open up for Maddison, and he showed what he can do. But like you say, Joe, this is a player which has been absolutely brilliant for quite a while in FPL now. And so, yeah, I think he is the best captain. The only other player I'd consider captaincy on this week is Ivan Toney at Burnley.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not looking at Watkins. I'm not looking at Bowen, given what's happening in Europe this week. I think I'm happy to include those players, but I'm not going to captain them.
No.
I would always captain Son over Maddison, who would probably also be in my team. So it does feel like Son. But if you want to do something a bit different and go for a much lower owned player, then it's probably Toney for me. Okay.
Well, you mentioned Toney. So Matthew in the live chat asked Muniz or Visser. Just for game weeks 29 and 30, so he's not free hitting, he's just for a transfer. I must admit, when I watched the Arsenal game, it was Visser who caught my eye more than Toney. Yeah. He looked more likely to score. He looked more up for it, basically. I don't know what was up with Toney. That's not to say Toney also, like Son, has the pedigree to do really well and is on penalties. But yeah, I mean, the thought of getting Visser in either alongside Toney or instead of Toney has crossed my mind.
Yeah, I would want to speak to a Brentford fan because Maupay's there, isn't he? Now, Visser started the past. I think there's the potential for them all to play together again if they play a back 4. But I would just want to know that he's definitely going to start that because he has been in a bit in and out of the team, but he's on a good run at the moment. It seems to be playing well. And so, yeah, but I want some assurances again that he's definitely going to play. But if he does, he'll be a decent option. No.
Yeah, because also they've got Neil Maupay there as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. So,
Animations asks, is 8 players viable to save the free hit? Yeah, what do you think? Is 8 enough?
Depends who they are. I think there's 4 must-have players for this week, and I think it's Son, Watkins, Bowen, and Toney. And I think that those are the four.
Yeah.
Ideally, Madison as well, but if
Mm,
you're not on a free hit, that might be tricky. I think if you've got those four players included in your
mm.
eight, might be okay. If you're missing a couple of those and you've still only got eight, might be a bit of a problem.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say as well. I mean, as I talk about in our team reveal video, I'm struggling with defenders. Really, I don't think many. I can't see many clean sheets. You're looking for getting attacking returns from them, which is much harder than for
yeah.
attackers. So I think if you can get your 7 attackers out, you could probably go stick goalie. You can have like
Yeah.
you could easily just have 7 and
Yeah.
not bother with defense. So yeah, if your 8 players include 7 attackers, so I would focus on those and making sure you can get those attackers in, because that's where the points are going to be. The points are going to be from your Watkins, your Sons, your Bowens. They're not, well, they could be from Porro, could be from Reguilon, could be from Alfie Doughty, could be, but there's much more chance for an attacking player that's playing further up the pitch most of the time is going to get those returns. So that's what I would say. Just focus on a lot of the players you've already mentioned, but the big lads in attack.
Yeah. I agree.
Would you, Sushant asks, would you sell Solanke or Watkins for Tony? So presumably not a free hit. So yeah, which one would you remove for Tony?
Well, I presume you're going to need Watkins this week.
Yeah. That's why I would
So I
say for
don't.
29. But also, say for example,
Yeah.
if you were looking for sort of
30.
including game week 30 in that, when Aston
Yeah.
Villa have Wolves, but Solanke
Yeah.
has Everton at home, but then Crystal Palace. I think Watkins in 31 is dispensable, but I think he's okay.
Yeah.
He's good for now.
That's exactly what I'm doing, and I'd be surprised if you can sell Watkins this week, and given that most people are struggling
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
11 out if you're not free hitting. But yeah, I've got a kind of a rough plan, which we'll talk about in the team reveal, to sell Watkins in 31.
definitely.
Might bring him back towards the end of the season, but taking him out when he doesn't double, when he plays Man City, Brentford, Arsenal, that's probably what I'd do.
Okay, I've got to remove another troll. So, what an idiot. Okay. Okay, right. Okay, another troll gone. Same troll, but come back. I don't know what goes on with these people's heads. They think, tee hee ha ha ha, but everyone just thinks you're an idiot, mate. Okay. FPL Gatey, my fellow Yeovil FPL Meets person. FPL Gatey, he's got Kaminsky and Areola. Didn't dream I'd have a benching headache for this game week. Yeah, who'd you play? Which one?
Kaminsky, I think. Yeah, I think Villa will probably go and score at West Ham. And you don't know, Luton at home, they have, they don't keep too many clean sheets, but yeah, I would probably favour that one over a team playing the Villa attack.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too. I mean, I've got Areola in my normal team, and I'm not going to play him. I'm going to play Fleck, and like a lot of people will, because you would think if there's going to be a clean sheet, it's probably against Burnley. But I would say, yeah, you might get some good save points. I think you might get a clean sheet. I would go for that one, but it's quite marginal. Michael Scott asks thoughts on Awoniyi, Chris Wood. Basically, it's that striker spot in Nottingham Forest as differentials for 29 and 30. So he's looking to carry it through there. I mean, have we heard any more? I mean, Awoniyi being dropped, is that going to happen again? He's clearly their best striker.
Absolutely no idea, because Chris Wood came in when Nuno got appointed and did really well, really, really well. So he's probably quite fond of him and knowing what he can do pre-injury. But no, I wouldn't take a risk on either of those, to be honest, at the moment, because I think even if the player starts, would it surprise you if on the hour mark they then brought Awoniyi on for him to freshen it up? So I don't think either are an option for this one. I think Forest midfielders are probably the ones, in my opinion, that you want to be looking at. Maybe a Forest fan would come out and say differently. If one of them gave you assurances that one of them was going to get enough minutes, then it's different. But from my take it's too risky.
Historia Films asks, which fixture do we think will have more goals? So, I mean, for example, this week, I most people pinpointed the Villa Tottenham game as having most goals. I think their expected goals was 4. I thought it was going to be 2-2, not 4-4. But which is going to be the Villa Tottenham clash for this week?
Oh, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Burnley and Brentford, I can see Brentford winning that, but I don't think they'll get. I don't think a couple of goals maybe. Villa v West Ham. If you've got two, it can go one of two ways, can't it? If you've got two very tired teams, you could just have a game where both team is kind of happy, just sitting back and taking a point from that game potentially. I think if I would probably say Luton Forest would be the game with the most goals.
Yeah,
I think so. Luton are going to go for it at home, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah, they both.
Forest haven't been scoring many recently. They haven't scored for 3 games in a row. But I think if you get Elanga and Hudson-Odoi back in, I think they'll get chances at Kenilworth Road. So
I'm going to go for Tottenham again, Tottenham-Fulham, because I think Fulham are better at home. I think Tottenham can be suspect at the back. I think with Son up front, presumably still going to be up front, they just seem to be much more a potent attacking force. I can see that being at least 2-1, maybe 3-2 even.
Well, we could probably say most of those games there are going to be 2. They're quite hard to call, these ones. There isn't an obvious game where you're thinking they're going to go and stick 3 or 4 past them. I don't think, but I think there will be goals. I just don't think, I don't think we'll see many clean sheets this weekend. But I don't necessarily think there's going to be tons of goal in each game. I can see more 2-1s and things like 2-0s, that kind of thing. Famous last words. But
no, Sam's got the urge to get Romero in on his Spurs defence. I think if you're playing the Sky game, get him in because he's good for bonus bonus tiers. But I think it's going to have to be, if you're going to get a defender, it has to be Porro or a Doggy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Romero's done really well this year, hasn't he? I don't think any defender's scored more goals than him from set-piece threat, things like that. But when you watch the games, because of the positions that Doggy and Porro get into, kind of coming into midfield, sometimes even beyond that, they're the ones that I feel most excited about owning.
Okay. Looking down the questions. I think this is a question, so I'm just going to read it out. Hopefully it's clean. Tricky MF asks, not on a free hit, keen on retaining Foden, Saka and Palmer. Okay, so he wants to keep those 3 players.
Yeah.
Would you do cash over Elanga or Elanga for Foden? Okay, so basically he's got very, very limited midfield moves there. So he's looking at Elanga possibly. For one of those perhaps players, possibly even moving Foden out, but getting Elanga in to facilitate a return of Salah and Haaland in Gameweek 30, 31. So basically freeing up money. The basic crux of that question, is it worth getting in a player who definitely plays in 29, who's cheap, who could do well to free up money to get the big lads back in 30, 31?
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think being able to get back to Salah, we spoke about it last week, didn't we, Joe? That was one of the reasons why I sold KDB this week, is because I wanted to give myself that flexibility. Because I think a lot of people are maybe not thinking about 30, and then Salah will be there, and people will be like -4s. How are we going to rejig my team round? So I think making a move now, which helps you not only in 29 but in 30 with getting Salah back in, could be really important.
Yeah, definitely. Matt Henley echoes what we were saying earlier. Pretty sure Son can do it against 11 men. Yep. And Historia Films also thinks Avissa could be better than Tony. Ads does not rate Tony. Okay. I'm just going down the list here. I think we might be coming to do we know the latest on Reguilon as well? So what is the latest with Reguilon? He's in my free hit draft at the moment. I'd like him to play.
Well, yeah, he was obviously absent at the weekend, and I'm pretty sure that they said minor hamstring injury, didn't they? And I think Frank said, I'm just going to pull up the quote now, but I think that he said that he expected him to be okay. Yeah, a minor hamstring. He should be available for the Burnley game. So let's see what the pre-match presser tells us later this week. But I would feel pretty confident of a start based on as long as he hasn't had a setback or anything like that.
Okay. A few questions, thoughts on Alanga. We've given lots of thoughts on Alanga. Yeah, he's very much in my thoughts there. Rank in terms of priority to get in. So this is more of a long term, a less of a 29 question. Salah, Haaland, and Palmer. So game week 30, Salah is at home to Brighton. Haaland is away to Arsenal, and Palmer has a Burnley at home. For me, it'll be Salah, Palmer, Haaland, but then Haaland in 31. But Salah very much a captain call for me, game week 30.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, Haaland, I'm going to wait on that till 31. Palmer, I think you just need Palmer. I just think he's been incredible.
Yeah.
I think a few people benched him this past week. I've done it before. I benched him for that big Luton haul, but he's just a player now I want to play all the time. He's a no-brainer to get in, given that Chelsea have got fixtures and might have a double as well.
Right, Yo, thank you, Sir Moomin, for blocking and reporting that idiot who's trying to ruin our fabulous live chat going on. Sixto asks, no, Geki, Porro for a -4. Would you spend a -4 to get Porro in?
Who were we taking out? Did he say?
Well, he doesn't say who, but let's just assume it's just a defender he doesn't want and probably hasn't got a game.
Yeah, because the thing is, Spurs have got good fixtures beyond 29, haven't they? So if it actually helps you out when they play Luton, West Ham, Forest after that, then I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Because getting you an extra player this week. Porro, I didn't think he was great in an attacking sense against Villa, but he still got his bonus point because the way he plays lends itself to the bonus point system. So yeah, I think I don't dislike that -4 if it gains you a player now and helps you after that.
Okay, and Leon's going into what we're talking about is sort of 8 players enough. I actually think 7 players enough if you've just got attackers. But Leon has got 9 going into 29, just with a -4. So that's definitely no need for a free hit there. But he asked Watkins or Son captain. I think both of us we're thinking Son over Watkins for this one.
Yeah, I think that additional rest time for Spurs, I mean, I think that could start to become a factor at the start of the season when Villa have got a big game on Thursday against Ajax. We looked tired against Spurs, I thought, after that European game. Yeah. I don't know, I didn't watch Brighton, but that was a low-scoring game as well. Maybe that impacted Brighton's performance a bit as well, Joe. I don't know at the weekend. It certainly impacted West Ham as well in the first half of their game. So, I would feel a bit more confident going with Son, I think, over Watkins.
And just final question from Alan, who's looking for a differential. So that's what this whole show's about. And we've mentioned quite a few differentials in midfield. He is looking for Paqueta as an alternative to Bowen.
Okay.
So, Paqueta on pens, he asks. Yes, he is on pens. I think he's a really good shout for that sort of 4th midfielder slot.
Yeah, would I want Paqueta over the other 2 players we spoke about from West Ham long term? No, but in a 1-game week scenario, I don't think going for the penalty taker is a bad thing at all. No. I think I did have a look at him a little bit, and I think I was just kind of leaning towards Kudus, but I think Paqueta's fine to go for as well. Such a good player, playing a bit more advanced now. Yep. Moved into the middle at the weekend. He wasn't even shifted out of that wide. So, why not?
Excellent. I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much for joining me, Tom. Thanks to everyone who's joined us in the live chat. Obviously not that idiot that was spamming us, who's now been removed and is being sad somewhere on his own somewhere. But I don't care. Thanks all the normal people that joined us in the live chat. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who's watched and listened to us talk about some differential options for the blank game week. Good luck with your decisions, whether you're free hitting or not. Thanks for your time. Take care. See you soon.
Thanks, Joe.